It's almost 10 o'clock. Let's see.
We have this side on the back agent side.
You want to get to back agent? I can do that.
No, but
Oh, I don't think it's up there.
it's not up there anymore.
I don't think so, no.
You know the number.
So that's where you find you find the address. You find the project owner, you put the address there and click job address, and then type in the address.
We'll do a little more data.
Now building permit. Copy that number, and then enter it in the other. Submit.
Yes, we'll go over all that.
Okay.
When you want to search for another address, you have to start
All the way back at the beginning.
just remove the
10 o'clock.
packet
Okay,
link.
here we go. We're gonna get started.
Oh, I see, okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all who are not here in person, but who are watching. I have a lot of information today. I want to make sure you have a good understanding, so we're just going to jump right into it. I want to remind you that it's still election time and Saturday is election day. How many people have voted already? One? That's going to be about the percentage. Less than 4% of the people are actually going to vote. Anyway, they're saying around 5 or 6%. Reminder, you can still get early vote, Saturday vote, encourage your people to vote. Yeah, you can still vote today. Right, Kathleen? Yeah.
You can vote today,
You can
yeah.
vote till Thursday, I think.
No, May 2nd, they said.
What is it?
I thought they said May 2nd.
Maybe so. What is today?
Today's May 2nd.
You can vote through today.
Yeah.
Anyone need any more understanding? HAR definitely came out in favor of voting for. Jolanda Jones and some of the other school board members said, vote against it. The issue is, when people ask me about that, I think the people that want to vote no really want to be in the state legislature and change how school finance works. And I get it. They probably just need to run for the House or the Senate, though. We can't at the local level dictate what the state law is, and this is the law. And if we vote no, they're going to pull this $8.8 billion worth of property, the Galleria, Memorial City, Greenway Plaza. They're going to give it to Aldine. We're not going to be able to get it back very easily. So I'd still rather take my chances fighting over in the courts or something, but follow the rules. You pay your fine, and then you go to court and argue about it later, But I just think if you don't pay, we're going to get in trouble. But Election Day, Saturday, we'll see how that pans out. Just want to remind you about that. They've been kicking out these little lists in the Houston Business Journal lately. I'm not too much into these lists, but of course it makes a difference at some point. They listed the agents. I happen to be number 48 out of 31,000. That doesn't really matter anything to you, whatever. But I think you might keep in mind, and we might do some marketing with these real estate firms. When they rank the real estate firms, and there again, I think there's about 4,000, and they rank them by transactions and by dollar volume. We basically came in 25th out of about 4,000. And I'm very proud of that number. I think that's a very good number. The more important thing for me when I look at it, because we're never going to be the largest firm. We're not going to be too much larger than what we are now. We will grow by 10 or 15 agents. But our 58 agents competed with the 953 at Better Homes and Gardens and the 679 at Coldwell Banker and the 293 at Martha Turner. When I divide the number of our agents by our transactions, and when I divided it, our agents, our 58 agents, did more transactions per volume than any of these other firms. We averaged 9.8% transactions for every agent here, and Martha Turner agents only averaged 8.4%. So our average agent sold more houses than Martha Turner, Greenwood King, Coldwell Banker, every other one on this list. We were the smallest firm on the list by number of agents, you know, and so I'm very proud that the number of agents that we have are producing more transactions. Now, do they out Lisa Kornhauser and Laura Sweeney? They're producing their transaction beats me and beats you, so they can sell 10 $3 million houses, and we're selling 10 $500,000 houses, so their volume is better than ours. I'm gonna give them that. They got a head start on that also. But our agents are producing more transactions than any of these other people on the top 25 list. And that's probably the more important thing to know. So I think in the marketplace, where it's valid, we're not half of these things doing $99,000 transactions all over Cinco Ranch and Katy. If you pull out Remax, Space City, Grand, the Woodland Spring, Keller Williams Signature, all these sort of things, and take out Northeast and Northwest, there's really Better Homes and Gardens, Coldwell Banker, Martha Turner, Greenwood King, John Darby, Heritage, Bernstein, Boulevard Realty. Our agents produced more transactions than any of those other firms per agent. So we'll put this out there, Aaron, and that is both by dollar volume and by, you know, so we're 25th in dollar volume, we're 25th in transactions out of 4,000. Just gonna put that out there. So, very good for you. I think we'll do even better. You know, I think we're just getting our groove on over here, so all that's good. Want to talk about open houses just a moment. I think we do a good job with open houses, but I think we must elevate our game a little bit. So I'm going to make this 2 brief points. A, you must assume, please assume, and please know, you are most likely being recorded at every open house and every showing that you're going to these days. The technology in these houses is significantly better. So believe me, all day long, almost every day, I'll get a call from a seller, it doesn't have to be mine, that says there's a showing from 2 to 3, they just showed up at 3:15. They can tell that because they have their little security system and their little cameras. And believe me, on my listings, almost every time, my clients know exactly what time you're getting there. So they're telling me that you got there at 2:05 when the open house was from 2 to 5. And it's not a good thing. They are angry. They are angry. They are angry, okay? You've got to assume that they know what time you're getting there and what time you're leaving and what you're saying. In every listing in America today, you must assume. If you go to some Greenwood King listing, you need to be careful what you're saying because they got some secret recording going on over here, okay? I think they do today.
Why would they do that?
What?
Why would
That's
they-
their
Security.
house.
It's their house. They
That's
can.
their house.
That's security.
They can record
They have
you at
every
their
right to
house.
do so.
You are entering into their primary residence and they're recording this. And they're watching you on their security system, on their phone, on their office, wherever they are. Every showing at Beauchamp, every showing at 942 Euclid, every showing at Mosby Circle, every showing at my listings, I'm telling you, you're being recorded. The new construction is probably not being recorded because there's nothing there. You'd be surprised in the average house in Cinco Ranch for $350,000, you're being recorded. Okay? You must assume that you're being recorded and that they know what time you're getting there. So, first assume that you're being recorded and they know what time you're coming. You know, that's another thing. Two, I think if you're doing an open house, it should be the company policy. Do not ever agree to an open house or go to an open house where you haven't previewed the house before that day and most likely spoken to the seller about that house. They are letting us come into their house and open it up, and let's be realistic, the majority of times it's for the realtor to get another client. It's not even to sell the house. It's for the realtor to make a network for themselves. We might sell the house, but you're gonna show it to 100 people, so you're not gonna sell it to 100 people. You have a chance to sell those other 99 houses. We need to do a better job of getting with the seller and say, hi, I'm Becky. I'm going to hold your open house on Sunday. Why did you buy this house? I'd like to know more about the features that you should. The sellers will like it more. You will be more educated about that house. It will help you sell that house, and it will help you sell that neighborhood if you have previewed it beforehand. And if you're getting there, if you're rushing your ass off in the hot Texas sun at 2:05 to throw up a balloon and a banner and set out some things in the corner, and you don't even know if it's 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, look, we're wasting our time there. You guys should go to the swimming pool and be drinking. You should not be at an open house if you haven't prepared yourself for it. Nobody goes and does surgery over there without prepping a little bit. They've reviewed the x-ray. Nobody goes to court as a lawyer who hasn't read this stuff beforehand. They're not very effective at it. We've got to preview these houses beforehand. If you've done it, if you've held it open the month before, then you don't have to do that again this time. You don't have to do it once. You should walk through the houses during the week or visit with the seller beforehand. We would be more effective at what it is that we're doing. And it's better to do it once great than it is 4 times poorly. Okay? It's not a numbers game if you're not doing it very well. We should up our game. We should preview these houses beforehand. Visit with the listing agent at the minimum, but I would visit with the seller. I think that, because remember, they're watching you anyway. They're watching you when you don't answer the question right. They're watching you saying, the person who held my house open didn't know anything about my house, and they're wasting my time. I cleaned it, I left, I had to move the dogs, and I didn't know, the person there didn't know anything about it. It's not good. If we're gonna elevate our game, let's just elevate our game and say that this should be the policy. Preview a house before you have a house open. Any questions about that? Yes, Jim?
705 Woodland,
705 Woodland.
20-year-old house,
Okay?
2 cameras in it.
Yeah, they have them, baby. They have them.
So,
I'm assuring you that they have them.
If you're saying we're recorded,
That
and
most
we're
likely.
also trying to get buyers, is what we're really doing at the open house.
Yeah.
Try to do better.
And there's a fine line, and what are some of those pitfalls that we can avoid? Because, I had somebody come through, and I'm like, it is a pitfall. Not one I did recently, but
I
it's
think I
a
would
good way
say
to show
that.
your value to the buyer that I know what the real price is.
I get these same emails, you can probably read mine. Someone's, you have a reputation of overpricing the houses. Your house is overpriced. I didn't set the price. I did not set the price of 1,086 6.5 Street. I did not set the price of 942 Euclid. I did not set the price of 1618 Alton. You know what? I am the employee. I work for that seller. I gave them the information, and this is the price that they wanted to list the house. That's what I'm saying. We provide, the market will determine the value of a house, what someone's willing to pay for it. People overpay all the time, and many of the other people want to pay significantly less than what we think the value is. So I think what I would say is not that it's overpriced, it's that I didn't set the price. I provided the information to the seller, and this is the price they wanted me to market the home.
Okay.
This is the price that the listing agent is marketing the home. You're free to offer any price you want. My overall philosophy in life is that we should list every house at $1 and just let the damn market decide what the price is. I think everyone would feel better about it. I really do.
And so what were some of those other pitfalls?
Not knowing enough about the neighborhood or something, I think, I do think the pitfall is, we hear it all the time, they didn't know how many bedrooms and baths were in the house. That's usually some of the first questions, and you haven't made it upstairs yet to count the bedrooms and baths. And we told them wrong,
Countertops, maybe.
yeah, countertops, telling them it's marble when really it's travertine, or really it's silestone, or really it's soapstone. Yeah, some of those things for sure, I think, capture us. The best thing you can do as an agent is say, I'm not positive, I'd love to get back with you, be sure to leave me your email. That gives you the chance to get back with them, which is the more important thing to do. But I think not knowing enough about the neighborhood is really, because I think if you're trying to get a buyer,
Right.
they want you to not only know this house, they want you to know something about the constable program, the schools, the deed restrictions of the neighborhood. So I think that is kind of the pitfall, not knowing, you want to know about that house. The same thing, we're asking some of our people, if the house has been on the, we're trying to get these action plans. Week 1, 2, here's what we're going to do. We're going to wait 10 days, and we're going to have our first open house. We're going to have our open house. We'll take the feedback. We're going to adjust accordingly. And then in week 3 or 4, we're going to go do X, which would be, what do we do after it's been on the market for 30 days? Which is, there again, go sell the neighborhood, create a video of the seller that we can put online and say, why did I buy this house? What do I love about this house? What makes me, what the walkability of 1016 Bayland to antidote into Liberty Kitchen, the access to the hike and bike trail, the ability for my husband to go ride 70 miles without getting on a road because he can hop on the hike and bike trail and go all the way up to Bear Creek. Those sort of things a buyer from Cinco Ranch or Kingwood might not know. So I think what you're trying to do is, figure out something about that neighborhood that someone who are just trying to decide whether they want the neighborhood or not, and they want a realtor who understands the neighborhood, would be a big selling point.
Okay. I'm just concerned about being a bit, recorded.
I understand, it's
Yeah.
a function of our industry at the moment. I mean, I don't like it either, and I've had to catch myself about what I even say in my own listings, knowing that I'm being recorded, I'm being watched when I'm showing 942 Euclid. But when the repairmen are over there, while Trudeau's meeting repairmen right now, they're my guys at his office watching damn sure what they're doing. And he's sending me emails and text messages. I see they're over there on, can't get into the breaker box. That key is, and I don't know that because he's watching us from his office. Is he surprised?
Okay, so most of these listings, they're your listings, and so these are your clients, and so. this-
Well, that's the one that I know most about, but no, I
No,
get
no, no.
calls and emails from others, yes.
No, that's not where I'm going. Where I'm going with it is, we can ask for their phone number to call your seller.
Yes, you can, absolutely, they love that.
And they don't mind that this week it's Becky and next week it's Amanda and the next week it's Yenny.
They don't mind so long as Becky or Jenny knows the house.
But I just,
I do think they resent it, yes, if Becky met with them last week and, I think they have to be realistic. You're not gonna be the only one to show the house, so that the more people that know their house, the better chance we have to sell the house. So it's okay if Martha is the next week and she calls the seller at 1016 Bay and say, I'm gonna hold your house open. I'd like to hold your house open. I'd love to visit with you first and walk through the house so that I'm very prepared for the open house on Sunday. Now we get to expose 1016 Bay to Martha's sphere of influence and your sphere of influence, and there's no downside for that, my seller. At a minimum, we just make an appointment and we'll go through it and then come back and ask questions to me. If they're not in town or don't want to do that, then that would just be the minimum of walking through the house beforehand. You can walk through them on Saturday before the open house on Sunday also. You don't have to do it on Wednesday. I think we need to go through the houses beforehand. I really think it's doing us a disservice to show up 5 minutes before 2 o'clock. Really is. You waste that time.
Especially if you're, I completely agree with that. And especially if they know that's the case because they're recording you.
Yeah. Looking back. Okay, don't want to hang up there. So, tour beforehand, remember you could be recorded. This matrix training thing, when is this big one at the theater or whatever? Can everybody sign up for that? It's Thursday? At the Marquee or whatever, right?
There's 3 on that day. They opened up some other slots, so you just need to go check on the HAR.
Who hasn't been to a matrix training at all yet?
You gotta get your butt in
Cut you
there.
off here soon.
You gotta get your butt in there.
There's one today.
Yeah, which one would be better?
I'm going to the one today. How did this
The one today is full.
Are you going to a 1 hour?
If you sign up, get your butt in there because it's hands on.
That's right. You're going to
Do
that.
I need to go to the other one?
If you've gone to a 4-hour class, you don't need to go to one of the 1 hour, 2 hour classes yet. We'll have some refresher 1 hour things here. You just need to go to one of the 4 hour classes.
And the hands-on is a preference over the one at the Marquee. But I would go to the Marquee if you have not been to one at all, so that you know what it's capable of and why you should get in there.
It's good to go to an overview
Yes.
and then go to the 4 hour training. I think. It's a
You
little
don't have,
complicated.
you can go straight into
You
you
can.
can go straight into 4-hour training. They start with the beginning. I mean, if you have an understanding of, you've used Fusion or Tempo or whatever, you're gonna be fine. But hands-on is gonna be the best way. But don't skip the overview if you can get in.
You should
Right.
ask how many are going today.
How many are going to that? Is it today?
Yeah.
There's one
today.
That Fidelity is sponsoring at the Village in the Heights,
Okay.
and then there's the overview on Thursday.
Right.
There's 3
Yeah,
sessions.
Okay.
I went to one last week, before our last week, and I spent the last week working on it.
I consider myself.
It's on the back agent, on the calendar.
More so than me.
And if that session this afternoon wasn't full, I would be going back.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do it in one.
You're not gonna do it in one day. You just
Well,
need
yeah.
to start.
Becky and Mark came back talking about something they could do that I didn't learn in the class, and they were taught by somebody different, which is why I'm going again today.
We're gonna need to practice a little bit before they cut us off.
Well, you know, there was a girl that, remember that blast thing we went to in the spring? You paid for everybody to go.
Okay.
Anyway, the lady that did the software for Matrix,
Yes.
she was there. She was a real tall blonde instructor, so she wrote the software.
Big, bony German blonde.
You see where you're going there, Jim?
No, I'm just saying, you know,
Probably gonna get some one-on-one instruction.
He learned.
Moving on, October. When is this Mother's Day market thing? When is this?
May the 11th.
The 11th. That's not this week, that's next week.
That's next
We'll
Thursday.
come back to that one then. How many people sign up for floor time here in May? And how many vacancies do we have? Selena, can you look it up? It's filled up? Already good. Good. We're going to feed more leads to do floor time. You watch. Okay, we're gonna talk about new construction.
I'm watching.
Representing a buyer or a seller during new construction today. And I don't want to get bogged down because we could be here all day of this. I want to hit some highlights about new construction. New construction is generally difficult because there are unrealistic expectations. Okay? And if you're not setting an expectation, especially for the buyer, it is going to be a struggle the entire time. Okay? It's just, there's just so many things can go wrong in new construction that the society has a misconception about the reality of how construction works. Okay? And I try and set a very realistic expectation to my clients. If, and I build a house or two, so I know exactly how it works. But if I'm building a house and I schedule the concrete pour, okay, for the foundation, and I have to schedule it 2 weeks in advance, okay? So today I'm gonna set the concrete pour for May 13th, okay? And I could rock and roll along here and anything could happen. It could rain the day before or the day of. The city inspector could not have gotten there or something. Or we can get all the way to the 12th and it rains on the 12th and the concrete is set to pour on the 13th, okay? And when it rains on the 12th, the world thinks that the concrete is then going to be moved to the 14th. But let's be clear. The 14th was booked already on May 3rd, okay? You must wait now 2 more weeks to get in line on the concrete truck. You didn't move to the next day. There wasn't this, oh, it's not today, so it's going to be tomorrow sort of thing. Construction doesn't really work that way. So the buyer who's going to see, they poured concrete today, shit they couldn't pour today, thinks they're going to pour the next day. And the likelihood is that the concrete truck was already booked for a very long time and it's not going to be today, which can cause a longer delay than what the consumer expects. And there's always delays. And there can be delays. You can schedule an AC company all day long, but if the plumber didn't do what he has to the day before, do what they need to do, and so they have to be rescheduled. Or the city inspections. I mean, there are just delays. You must plan for delays. There's all delays. And 2 things happen. The seller usually is doing it for profit, wants to do as money as quickly as possible. So they're going to set you a very small little leash, hoping that everyone makes to that, but it's almost always delayed. It's almost always delayed. It's almost always delayed. Okay? You've got to anticipate these delays, whatever. Because too many things can happen beyond our control. So that's the first thing. Setting a realistic expectation of what it's going to be like. So in our world, we have the promulgated forms, new construction incomplete or new construction complete. And those forms, for the most part, are very balanced, probably even more so driven towards the buyer, like the typical contracts that we're used to. They're very fair forms. But we can't make a seller use these forms. They could require a more difficult form. So there's the Greater Houston Builders Association form that the typical bigger builder in Houston, Texas wants to use. And let's be clear, that form was written by builders and builders' attorneys to favor the builders. Okay? It favors the builders. That's why it says at the top of it, Greater Houston Builders Association. The even worse one is the American Institute of Architects one, and most custom home buyers who have an architect are accustomed to using that one. We don't experience that contract that often. But certainly, we've all gone to David Weekley Homes or In Town Homes or some other builder that has their own form or whatever, and they can require us, if you want to buy that house, to use that form. But almost in every one of those instances, it's probably going to favor the builder, seller over the buyer. So unless you have a lot of experience with how some of that works, I would probably get one of us who has more experience, Brandon, myself, or Rhonda, or someone, to help you just see what the pitfalls might be. Clearly, in the In-Town Home, David Weekley kind of version of house, they have almost the unrestricted right to cancel that contract and give you back your money. Okay? We represented a buyer. New construction started in the beginning, 3-story townhouse, In-Town Homes. It goes fine. You do our little walkthroughs, you make your selections, you get your inspection. He has his inspection, gets his inspection report, has questions about the third floor. We meet with the builder the day before closing. And he goes up in there and the buyer says, I think this balcony is going to leak. And they say, we're terminating your contract. Pick up your check at our office in an hour. They do not want to sell a house to someone who thinks the balcony is going to leak. They're a really smart company in that they don't want to screw with that buyer over the next 5 years. And they would rather just give him back his money and move on down the road and sell to someone else. Who the hell wants to sell a house to someone who thinks the balcony is going to leak? And they'll just terminate the contract, and you will have spent 6 months on this thing, and your guy maybe is selling his house and has no place to live the next day, and it won't matter. That's how their contract works. They're not going to sell you a house when it gets into a conflict. They don't want a conflict with you, okay? Those contracts favor In-Town Homes. That's how they're written. You need to tell your client that way up front. They build a nice house, but if you get into a conflict, they're going to cancel your contract, give you back your money, and move on down the road, okay? Not often that happens, but it certainly does happen more so than you would think. The easiest contract, of course, is New Home Complete. Let's just start with that one moment. And that's basically just like selling another home. There's no real difference. You typically have an option period. You would go and participate in, do your option period, do your inspections, and that sort of thing, and just kind of see how it goes, whatever. If you're making some changes. So this one, I don't think we have a lot of conflict with the New Home Complete. It still does require a little more stuff. You're supposed to attach a bunch of this stuff, much like the incomplete construction. Very few people ever do it. Once it's finished, who really cares? I think people are risk averse, and so there's not much conflict with the New Home Complete. New Home Incomplete, though, is a completely different story, because typically, while there is an option period, you can, let's pretend the house is not started. Well, you're not gonna have an option period then. There's no point in having an option period then. But if it's framed and you want to inspect the framing before you move any further, certainly you could have a 7-day option period. While the option period's going on, the typical builder's not gonna do any work. It's not gonna screw around there and do something for you and then you terminate or whatever. But it's not uncommon to inspect the frame and make sure that there's no problems. While if it's just framed up, no sheetrock or anything, and move on. If you already have sheetrock, there's probably no real reason to have an option period of new construction incomplete until you get, no reason to have an option period, typically. You would need to, of course, go back to incomplete, go to, attach all of the information. You must assume there is nothing there, and the appraiser has to be able to evaluate the value of that house based on a bunch of paper, not walking through there. So they need the elevations, they need the floor plans, they need to know, are the walls 6-inch thick or 8-inch thick or 12-inch thick? They need to know if you're gonna have, what's in the house. So we have the typical typical specifications and allowances. Most big builders are pretty good at it, most small builders are not, So let's look at DJ's specifications. This is telling me what's in our recipe, okay? What are we building here? So we're gonna get all our permits. We're gonna have a structural slab with void boxes. It's designed by an engineer. It's telling me the ceiling height, up and down. It's telling me that my floor is 6 inches thick versus a 2x4 is really 3.5 inches thick. So this is 6-inch walls versus 4-inch walls, which is better quality construction than 2x4. It's telling us how far the studs are on center. It's telling us everything we want to know about this house, the quality of the construction. What did they send to the plumber and the electrician and the HVAC person? What are the sort of things that are in there? If I have if I'm building a house, I can pour a slab, I can pour a perimeter beam and have piering beams, I can have trusses on the first floor, or I can have dimensional lumber on the first floor. I want to know how I'm building this house. And the specifications are telling me that sort of thing. And no one expects you to be an expert on what all this means. A typical house doesn't have 2x6 walls, they have 2x4 walls. But if your client may be the engineer, or a lot of them are, they'll want to maybe study this sort of thing. Or if you have particular questions, again, familiarize yourself with what it says in here. Most builders aren't going to give you this elaborate specification. They're just not. They're not. But typically, the reason they should have it, unless they're just really, really rich, they had to send this to their banker in order to get financing. Right? So, they had to have had them because they got a construction loan and they had to have whatever they gave the banks, that's what they should give to you. Because that bank sent it off to an appraiser and they were able to appraise it based on the specifications and then the allowances. So rarely do they not have it, they have it. Sometimes the typical bigger builder may just have a throwdown plan. So Brad Smith may send the bank 9th Street's plans and specifications and get a construction loan on Baven, and he really wasn't going to build that house. He just kind of used a throwdown plan, and he's going to modify it once he gets it over here. And the bank really doesn't care that much, I'll be honest with you. So they're not always the most accurate with the builder, but they should be, but they're not. I understand why they wouldn't be. So these are typical specifications. This tells me that we're going to have some plugs and we're going to have a light, but it doesn't tell me what the light is. It doesn't tell me what the faucet is. It doesn't tell me if the sink's white apron front or metal undermount. I don't know that yet necessarily. So typically we either have some selections or we have allowances for those things. So because we don't know what the dining room chandelier is and we don't know what the color is, we're going to have some other allowances that tell us. If I'm buying a modern bungalow house, I assure you, you're going to get 3 exterior colors. You're not going to get 9 exterior colors. You can't take the gable up there and put 5 different colors of blue. That wasn't, if you want that, they're happy to charge you because the painter's going to charge extra for that, okay? So those sort of things, you're going to get 3 colors, a body and a trim and an accent. If you want more than that, you're going to pay the difference. Same thing, you might get 2 enamels, white, and then an island color that you might use in the master bathroom. That would be a typical enamel. If you want more enamel colors, you want your study to be blue, the painter charges more, and so you're going to have to pay the difference. Probably going to get 2 or 3 wall colors, white and a red dining room, or the pink room for the baby. So you're trying to get a feel for what a reasonable builder is going to go do over there. So these sort of things are kind of in these specifications. Same thing. So this is a steel door with wooden panels. It's not a solid wooden door. It's a metal door with a wooden veneer. It's not a wooden door. There's a difference between the two. The wooden door weighs more, so the motor costs more, has to be engineered more, so it can cost more. So it's not just a plain metal door like you might get in a David Weekley house. It is a metal door with a wood panel front. Okay, so let's just go to some allowances then. This is probably an expensive house. So our guys that, many of them want to give you 7 allowances, plumbing, electrical, 2 or 3 things. But, so he's giving us basically what he gave to his bank again. This is what he has to the bank. So it's a credit card. I got $10,000 for lighting. You want $11,000, I'm gonna swipe my card for $10,000, you're gonna have to pay the difference, because I don't have any money, didn't borrow any money beyond what is this driveway gate, which is $2,500. So if your gate, he obviously thinks he can do that gate for $2,500. If you want a solid, more elaborate gate, you're gonna have to pay the difference, because the builder doesn't have the money for that. Let's just be clear, they're not gonna front you the money, they're gonna front what it is that they have borrowed, and you're gonna pay the difference. This is probably way more elaborate than you want to know, but say, let's take this front door. So here's front door for $3,000 there. So let's say, I can get a lovely wooden door, I can get a metal door, I can get a door with some glass there. So when you're picking these allowances, you're trying to gauge from your client, is this a reasonable number or not? So here's countertops, and remember, most of them are gonna give you $4,000, so he's got $21,000 for countertops. You can make nice selections for $21,000, okay? You can do some pretty nice stuff over here. So you're trying to evaluate, are the allowances enough to make it work? And if they're not, maybe your person doesn't want a mosquito system. You'd rather trade his mosquito system for a generator. Perfectly fine. We're not going to do the mosquito system. We'll take that out. We're going to apply that money to a gas generator that'll power the refrigerators and the first floor air conditioning unit. So we're going to attach elevations, floor plans, specifications, and allowances with your offer. We're going to fill in the insulation addendum. We're going to start the construction over there. Okay, let's go back to the contract. The contract is fairly reasonable. And so the builder wants you to give him money. He wants to know you got skin in the game. We're used to resale where you go put this 1% amount of money into escrow at the title company. Remember, most markets in California and New York and River Oaks, you're going to put 10% down. You buy a $3 million house, you put up $300,000. They know if you're serious or not. Memorial, very common. 10% is the amount of money that you put down. We're very spoiled in our marketplace that we barely put up 1% these days, okay? But they could ask you to put up 10%. It's not uncommon, especially the more expensive the house. They want to know you're real or not. They're not going to give you a free pass to buy a $3 million house with just $10,000 up or something. But most of them want you to put $1 to the title company and put up significant money to the builder. Even the typical modern bungalow, you're going to pay the 1% to the builder, not to the title company. It's not uncommon, okay? And if you don't feel comfortable with that builder, don't enter into the contract. And a lot of it's going to have to be about trust. There are plenty of provisions to protect buyers if builders are unscrupulous, or they don't build the house, or they don't finish the house, or they don't do what is normal and customary. Okay? But it doesn't mean that buyers today are not unrealistic. Okay? And buyers are unrealistic. They think that it's a lot of money, which I'm not disagreeing, but there's a reasonable expectation. And there's a core set of reasonable deals. It is reasonable for me to stand 5 feet away and see if I can see a wall, okay? So if I stand 5 feet, I can see this mark right there. So it's reasonable to have new construction that you wouldn't have to accept that flaw right there. But it's not reasonable to get the flashlight and go right here and try and look for every flaw and assume that that's going to be fixed. That buyer is never going to be satisfied. Never going to be satisfied. Okay? So we said you have an unrealistic expectation. You're going to have to stand, water, it rains all the time in Houston, Texas, and water is going to sit on a driveway. And it's reasonable for water to sit on the driveway for a certain number of hours. Driveways are not designed to remove all the water instantly when it rains. It's reasonable that it holds water and then it drains accordingly. So it's not reasonable to think that there won't be any water in a driveway. We can go over a lot of this later, but I'll bring those topics back up again. Of course, during the line of your construction, you're entitled to go to reasonable inspections. And what's reasonable? It's reasonable if you want to, if you got under contract and there was nothing there and you get it framed up and you want to bring in your own engineer to evaluate the framing or the levelness of the floor before they do it, that's a reasonable inspection and the buyer is entitled to that and the seller cannot stop you. It says in the contract that we have the right to inspect with reasonable inspections, okay? And that's a reasonable inspection. I would tell you, if you represent any of these new constructions, your best friend is this website at the City of Houston, which is here, which we will forward to you again. We've done this many times. This is the website where you can go and check the status of any new construction or any permitted work over the last 3 years. Even if you're selling a house that's brand 23rd Street. The damn thing was finished in 2015, remember? I mean, just because it's brand new and it didn't sell in 16 doesn't mean that it wasn't really finished. You can search by address or project or anything. If you don't know the project number, now if you're selling new construction, and you're representing the buyer, I represent the seller, I didn't say anything. Find the project number as quickly as possible. It's up on a permit, it's up on a red tag, it's up on a green tag or something. If you have the project number, you're golden. But if not, you can put in the address and you can find a project number. And if you struggle here, because the city's not the most effective or whatever, you could try and ask Frank to help or whatever. But I'm selling 204 Bayland, trying to close on Thursday. You put in 204, it shows you that they pulled the permit. And this one, they had one revision. So here's 204 Bayland. These are all the permits that they pulled. We just need this number. So we get the number, we copy it, we paste it, we put it over in this website right here, we plug it in, and it's going to tell you the status of all these inspections. You really need to know how to do this. You're selling new construction, you need to know how to do this. This is telling me that, okay, here's electrical. Here's all their stuff in electrical. Looks like an electrical. We've approved everything. Golden. Here's the plumbing, so the in-ground plumbing was approved, and here's everything to do with the framing, from the foundation to the windstorm to the firewall to the nail patterns, the insulation, everything, even after the installation and the final inspection, all that stuff's approved. Lovely. Along the way, you could click on any of these little deals when they're not approved, and it will give you all sorts of comments. It will tell you what day they did it here, if they failed, if they needed to add cap chases, repair the studs at the kitchen window. And it's telling you they got their letter from their engineer, anything you can kind of see what's going on in each department, how they got there. Go back. So here's HVAC. Now we're set to close on Thursday. Obviously, we did not.
Bill,
Yes.
turn a little bit to that.
Okay, here's on HVAC. We don't have everything on HVAC. So here's yesterday when they had ordered an inspection, but they have not passed this inspection yet. So they now requested this inspection. We'll be able to check later today whether or not they passed or failed. If they fail, I don't know why they failed. Maybe the AC unit is too close to the house. There's not enough air circulation for some reason. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be on a pad. Builders being cheap, that wants to put it on the dirt. I mean, could be any number of reasons we could follow along. Haven't gotten that one. This was for the temporary deal. These items that were on here, when they say request and there's nothing there, it means that when they went to pull the permit, they said they were going to have these things. So maybe in the permit there was going to be an outdoor kitchen. Maybe there was going to be a sprinkler system. That's probably a good one for today. In this contract, the buyers agreed to do everything on the outside of the house. We had to finish the permits, but they're doing their own grading, their own drainage, their own irrigation, their own fences, their own sod. We're doing nothing, okay? We negotiated a reduction in price and the buyer take all this deal. So, you know, we'll have to, that's why these things maybe are on here. Maybe there was a fireplace and on the plan and we didn't build the fireplace for some reason. So things could be on here and at some point they're gonna have to go remove them before they get their final inspection. So you can inspect everything, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, building final. So a lot of times it goes like, I got my building final. Well, that was the structural final. You can get the structural final and you don't yet even have the HVAC done. It doesn't mean that you have the final inspections. It means in high school, and I took my final in English, but I haven't had my final yet in science. Doesn't mean they give me my diploma yet, right? I'm gonna have it all in order to get the diploma. They don't have their diploma yet. They just have a building final. Yes, I'll give you your structure final, but your HVAC hasn't final, and your project is still outstanding. It happens all the time. Total misunderstanding. You'd be surprised, 70% of the builders don't even go to the project of finaling out the project. And if we go 6 months and it hasn't been finalized out, the project has to be reopened in order to get the finals. Okay? So this is the diploma. These are your finals in your particular classes along the way. So it's good to follow along here and see where they are. Now, these buyers inspected this house 2 or 3 days ago. Maybe, no, I think it was Friday. They inspected on Friday, and we're closing, what was Wednesday now, it's moving to Thursday. There is, in that contract that we have signed, I can't make them do their inspections until these projects are final, okay? They chose to, but I mean, if they want to be a horse of that, and they want to delay the closing, now my seller wants to close, believe me, he wants to close. We can't make them close until we have the finals. And then they have the right to inspect, right, in the contract, and to negotiate what is reasonable repairs, which are meet the city of Houston's code of ordinances, okay? So, now they did do it, and we're progressing along. They're closing their other house today. We have tomorrow to finish the rest of the stuff. They plan to move in on Thursday, close Thursday at 10. It can work, but if people are assholes, here's how the rule works. You can't make it, so it's reasonable that a builder would have you inspect the house after they final. You don't want to inspect the AC because we know it's not final. Why would I want to spend $600 to inspect the AC when I know from the city of Houston it hasn't finalized yet? So you can't make a buyer inspect. If they want to and they trust the builder and it's working fine, you might inspect and see what's going on. Of course, the builder's going to go to closing and says that he has finalized all these projects out. Most of the time, they haven't really always put them all out. I mean, it's just, you got to watch how these things work. You need to know how to find the project number, you need to know how to print it in here and be able to read what's going on with the deal. And if you represent the buyer, share this with your buyer so they can see exactly what's going on. It's public information over here. You would want your buyer to figure out if they've approved or not approved what's going on along the way. This is your best friend. This is your value as a realtor for new construction. Significant value.
Is the city good about updating?
It's instant these days. When he's on his little deal and he updates, they don't have to go back to the office and plug it in and update the next day. They carry a little iPad and whatever they write right there and they put on the red tag is on the iPad and it's updated instantly at on this website. It's pretty updated these days.
How do you find that page at City of Houston?
Yeah, we're gonna send you the link.
We're gonna put it on Backpage.
We're gonna put it on Backpage yet. We're gonna put the one that you find the project or put the one if you
I'm
know
gonna do
the
it right
project
now.
number already.
I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay? All right, go back to the contract. We're gonna focus on paragraph 7 here again for just a moment. We're assuming it was incomplete construction. We did not have an option period. So the buyer and the buyer's agents have access. Now, the buyer can say, I want your access to be accompanied by my agent. They can say that, especially if the buyers are assholes. They can restrict what would be normal. Is it normal at 942 Euclid that I accompany every showing? Well, it is normal, so it could be just the same way. I'm gonna grant you access, but I'm gonna require my agent to let you in. They don't have access to go every day, and the buyers cannot instruct one of those employees, and this is the constant conflict. They start telling the painter, or the tile guy, or the HVAC guy, or the landscaper or something. They need to go through the agents to document what it is that they want done. But you're granted reasonable times and reasonable access along the way. You have inspected along the way, all those sort of things. We have to complete the house according to the documents. That's why it's important to get all those documents up there and change what you want changed. Make sure that, if you change the gable on the elevation, make sure the damn gable change is in the contract and initialed by everyone, okay? The conflict's generally that we didn't get the paperwork right to begin with. It's typical on new construction to pay in advance before the work's begun. So if you have $2,500 allowance and you make selections and it's $5,000 and he wants to charge you the $2,500 in a change order, you can do it. The conflict that you get into these deals is whether or not the builder has the right to charge a change order fee. If he's changing something out, he's got to send his person to go look at 14 more tile deal. He may want to charge a 25% fee, really 30% fee for change orders. So you have $10,000 worth of change orders, they're going to charge you 30% or another $3,000 to manage your change order. It's not uncommon. It's reasonable that they're doing more work, they would get paid to manage your work. You added a drainage, you're gonna put the culvert out in front of the house. And we're under construction, we're along the way, now we want a culvert, it's $10,000 for the culvert, for the permit, and it's okay to do that, but they may want some money to do that. Otherwise, say, hell, you just do it yourself. What incentive do I have to do anything new for you? We entered into an agreement and I knew I was making X, and now you want me to do 5 more projects. It's reasonable to get paid for those projects along the way.
Is it reasonable to take like a change order that your Harvard house with Smith Family Homes, that pick out gaudy crap and now they back out, they can't sell it?
Yeah, okay, so here, yeah, absolutely. So the builder has the right to say, if you choose something that I wouldn't choose, you must pay twice the dollar amount, once to do it and once to do it the way I was gonna go do it. So let's say you're gonna paint the kitchen red, okay? I can't sell this red kitchen. My painter's gonna charge me $5,000 extra because it's red versus white. And then I need enough money to go put it back white, which is another $5,000. So we're gonna charge you $10,000. We're gonna credit you $10,000 if you buy the house at the end. Okay, so you're gonna get 100% credit. But if you bail along the way, then I need enough money to go undo that sort of thing. And the average builder, from David Wheatley to whatever, Sterling Homes or Coventry Homes, is gonna do the exact same thing. They're not gonna let you paint your brick black on the outside of the house and then not have enough money to undo the black brick because we can't resell the black brick. So yeah, sure it is. And we're pretty good about telling people up front that's how that works or whatever. But it is a fight. I mean, same thing. I was getting a refrigerator. It was $4,000. Now I'm getting a $12,000 refrigerator. Why should the builder on $8,000 make an extra 30%, $2,400? But what happens is, and it does happen all the time, the $12,000 refrigerator gets a ding after it's installed there. 30 days later, they scratch the floors along the way. I mean, he has to warranty the damn thing afterwards, and it's more expensive for the $12,000 refrigerator part than it was for the $3,000. I mean, you can see why they want to charge you a little bit more for that. But buyers have a hard time grasping why they should pay more if you, but I have a $50 allowance for Carrera marble, and I select $100 Brazilian gold countertops. The likelihood is the Brazilian gold countertop is going to get chipped the day before closing. It's going to have a crack in it the day before closing. It's harder to warranty than the Carrera marble is, and so they're going to charge enough to deal with some of those issues along the way.
In this scenario, who owns the property?
The seller still owns the property, which is typically the builder or the investor.
Okay.
Yeah. Builder still owns the house. That's why we need enough to undo something that's kind of silly. Okay? You need to make selections in a reasonable time frame. Buyers want 7, sellers want 1. You settle it 3, 4, 5. You need to know kind of how hard it is if the buyer just can't get off to make selections. Remember, this industry is geared to builders who are at work from Monday through Friday. I can't take a buyer to go look at selections on Saturday and Sunday. The Fergusons of the world and the Morrison Supply of the world and the Factory Door Supply of the world and the tile store and the decorative center, they're not open on Saturday and Sunday. They're open Monday through Friday because they sell to the trade. And so the buyer who thinks he's going to make all the selections on Saturday is going to have the Marias of the Joe of the world go out and make pick up some tile selections and bring them to them, but they're not going to the tile store. You're not going to Doll Tile or Ann Sachs on Sunday. It's not open. You know, so you kind of need to know up front how soon it's gonna be made. This house obviously was already under construction, so, you know, you want to get started as quickly as possible. Usually that's 30 or 45 days. It hasn't started yet. And we're gonna have some target date of closing over here, but we know, let's just say this is August 19th. And the seller, we get to August 1st and we don't have any of those inspections. We are not going to make it. But we have one of these deals, an automatic, you know, the one that's 204 Bailey. If it doesn't close tomorrow, the contract is automatically extended. I don't have to have that amendment. People can stress about the amendment, but the law is fairly clear over here. I can't make the buyer sell if I didn't perform, which was get all the final inspections. And this buyer can't make the seller sell if he's still waiting on the city to come inspect it. Okay, right? So the contract will automatically extend until we get the finals. The buyer has the right to inspect. The buyer has the right to make sure to re-inspect the repairs afterwards again, and you automatically might be closing on August 31st. If we want to go get that amendment signed, if someone's stressing about it, if the lender says they really, really need it, great. If they don't really, really need it, it's the same thing. We know there's a speed limit right there, but there's no speed limit sign posted here on Studewood, right? But we know what it is. Might be 25, might be 30, probably not 35. It's somewhere over there, right? It isn't 55. It's, and if you can get a ticket, you don't have to say, I couldn't see the speed limit sign. You knew there was a speed limit. These things are automatically, there's the Texas Property Code, which supersedes all of this crap anyway, and it would take care of the fact that the contract is automatically extended. If the builder's not finished right here, the buyer doesn't have the right to terminate and get all his money back and move on and buy another house. That's not how it works. There's a wall that's in place that sets how that works. So it's normal for them to be late. These are target dates. They're not absolute dates. If the title company's not ready, we're not going to close. If the mortgage company's not ready, we're not going to close. We don't have the survey back yet, we're not going to close. There's a title issue, we're not going to close. Could be any number of reasons that you don't close on time. Okay, but the builder must build to a certain quality also. By law, there's a reasonable quality. There's a, we have a building code that they have to abide. These inspectors who are inspecting, whatever they are, Fox Inspections of the world, they are using an international building code for evaluation that the city of Houston has not adopted, okay? You can't make the builder follow a code that Fox is using if the city of Houston doesn't use it. Here's a perfect example. Exhaust fans from a bathroom are designed to pull humidity and whatever and shoot through the roof and go up. That's how they're designed. You turn the fan on, the little fan goes up and it penetrates the roof, okay? The city of Houston has not adopted that deal. The city of Houston has said, you may run that over to the soffit, okay? Instead of having penetration of the roof. Every time you have plumbing, you need a roof plumbing vent. So for every sink, every exhaust fan, every gas deal. So remember, we got a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house. We've got 5 plumbing vents going through the deal. And if you added 4 more exhaust fans plus the laundry room, here's 5 more penetrations of the roof. Builder doesn't want the liability of 5 more penetrations of the roof. That's just one more thing the squirrel can eat. It's one more roof jack you got to worry about. It's one more water penetration you have to worry about. So it's just easier to run over here to the soffit. And yes, hypothetically, in 100-hour wind, the wind could whip under the soffit and go through this fan and shoot that all the way downstairs into the powder bath on the first floor. It's possible if we just really, really, really try. But the likelihood is that what's it going to matter? There's a little fan spinning, so when it's on, it's not going to happen. And when it's off, it's still not going to be able, if it blows the air back down through the exhaust fan, is it the end of the world? But I don't think it's necessary to penetrate the roof. So the inspector comes and says the exhaust fan should penetrate the roof. So you're in conflict. This building code does not require that. You can't make the builder do it. But we have all the time people say, well, I'm gonna resell, and this is gonna come up again, and I'm not a builder, and I want to do that. So we'll go, here's a typical deal, we will do that for you, and we will void all the roof warranties. So I'm willing to give you the 5 plumbing vents for the exhaust fans if you're willing to void your $20,000 roof warranty. Which do you want? And most people will just concede, okay, I don't want to void my roof warranty. So you can't make him adopt something that's not in the building code, even though it's an international code. Okay? California and something, they have sprinkler systems in basically every house. We can't make you put in a sprinkler system. You have a sprinkler system if you're greater than 3 stories in the city of Houston. So there's a reasonableness of the quality of work that would be, that the buyer and seller should expect. If one party's just really not, reasonable, then you can always have a conflict. It's just, I don't want to go down. Okay, want to go over this warranty stuff. We used to have warranties. 10 years ago, we had a standard warranty. The building departments, all of those warranties, and the Texas Residential Real Estate Construction Commission, it was determined favored the builders more than the buyers. It was giving the builder a greater advantage over the buyers. The buyers were not able to really sue builders for warranty work in a reasonable manner. So the legislature did away with the Texas Residential TRCC, Texas Residential Construction Commission, which in effect did away with any standard warranty in the state of Texas. Okay, there is no state warranty anymore. You bought a house 8 years ago, that warranty is probably still in play, but it's not out there. But there is still what is basically the typical warranty that we had even before the TRCC, which is 1 year on workmanship, 2 years on mechanicals, 10 years on the structure. That's the typical warranty that would be out there. And we had this whole warranty conversation. Yes, I think it's good for a buyer to go get a third-party warranty. The builder himself, if they're good and reputable, will have a warranty. And it will probably be much just what I just said. 1 year on workmanship. But 1 year on workmanship generally says, okay, Rhonda, you bought this house right here, and I'm going to come back at 30 days, and I'm going to do a punch list for you, okay? But I'm going to tell you the house is going to settle in the middle of August when it doesn't rain and it's 100 degrees. Your house is going to move a little bit. And we're going to get a little separation of the crown molding. It's going to separate. Then we're going to go through September, October. It's going to start raining. All of November, December, January, and February. The house is going to move again. So I'm going to give you a punch list at 30 days. And give you a punch list the last 30 days of your 1 year. And I'm willing to deal with your pain issues at that particular time. And I'm not if it separates in August, I'm not coming out here and I'm not gonna paint your house every month. I'm not gonna do that. It's reasonable to wait and see what the end result was. Now, if the AC goes out in the 3rd month or the 5th month, that's reasonable that would be under warranty. That's why the mechanicals really have a 2-year setup. We didn't run the guest bathroom until Grandpa came to visit or whatever, and so we didn't know the water pressure or the hot water didn't work in the guest bath until then. So those sort of things would be warranted in a reasonable time frame whatsoever. The ACES warranty kind of outlines what is a reasonable expectation for buyers and sellers. If under the law, under the property code, the builder is technically responsible for the foundation. Okay? They got a structural engineer. They're saying that they built it to the engineer standard. The city verified that. So the foundation of, pick a house, any house, a new construction, starts to fail 4 years later. The buyer had a responsibility to keep water from getting underneath the house, had a responsibility to keep the foundation with a reasonable amount of water. So you would have to prove you watered the foundation, or that you had an irrigation system that was watering on a reasonable time frame every 3 days in August when the drought comes in. When the drought comes through 2009, 10, 11, and 12, and nobody watered the foundation, of course the foundations were going to fail. There was going to be movement of the soil. And if the buyer couldn't prove that they took a reasonable precaution, you can't just not do anything and it fail and then not have some responsibility from the buyer. So even in the property code, they're picking out a certain amount of this sort of responsibility. So this ACES warranty outlines kind of responsibilities of the buyer and responsibilities of the seller. And what ACES is going to do is first go back to the seller, the builder themselves, and say, all right, we've evaluated this. We want you to go fix this. And they can hound them for 6 months. Let's just say we have standing water in the backyard every time it rains for 4 days. That would be a typical one that we have. They're going to try and go back to the builder. They're going to meet with the builder. They're going to go do a site visit with the builder. But let's just say the builder's an asshole and is just not going to fix it. I've spent all the money on these fuckers. I'm going to spend. Already lost money selling it to them. I'm moving on. I'm now waiting tables at Ugo's. They're barely going to be able to come in and fix that at ACES. Okay, the ACES is really setting the guideline. You need a better warrant. So it's good to kind of outline the ideas in the ACES. We've never had we only really had one claim in my 20 years where ACES went and solved the problem, which was a driveway in the 1100 block of 6.5 Street. It was a stucco house Allegro built, and the water stayed in the driveway for an extended period of time. And those lesbians just bitched the hell about that. We finally got it resolved. We ended up pulling out the driveway and rebuilding the driveway altogether about 3.5 years later. But it's very hard to get it. Bonded builder's warranty or something of that nature, you're going to have, so this, let's be clear. I can register as a builder for about $100, and I can give this warranty for about $100. Okay? You get what you pay for. Okay? They're not paying out $10,000 if they only brought in $100. I mean, I don't know, Brandon's saying, but that's about what we pay. It's about 100, maybe it's 125, but it's next to nothing. Versus a bonded builder's warranty, which is going to be about $2,500. You can imagine that warranty is probably better than the $100 warranty. So we use this standard sometimes, but I wouldn't feel too warm and fuzzy about it. Builders want to give the ACES, buyers want bonded builder warranty. You negotiate somewhere in between. Okay, new construction questions.
So at a new construction open house, I mean, you should also be able to say what kind of warranty, right?
Yes, you should. That's what they would want to know. What is the warranty? The builder gives a 1 to 10. Think about the builder giving the 1 to 10. The builder could be out of business tomorrow, right? They're out of business all the time. So when the builder gives the 1 to 10 and the builder's out of business, you don't have any warranty. You only have that warranty as long as that builder stays in play. And almost all, just there is inherent risk that they're not going to be here. But there's always inherent risk in all of them. Yeah, you'd want to know the warranty.
And then the same thing for, I want to move this wall, I want a covered walkway and all that stuff, and say, well, this is past final inspection last year. You significantly delay your ability to be in this house if you want to do all that. Right.
So I wrote yesterday on new construction, I represent the buyer. The house is basically finished, so we use New Home Construction Complete. She wants to add a fireplace and always wants to do something, which is fun, and wants to close quickly. Well, how's that going to work? So she has a 5-day option period. Let's inspect as quickly as we can. After the 5 days, we're going to close in 12 days over here, trying to see how this works. You're going to have to put up the $5,000 for the fireplace. You're going to get credit for the $5,000. But I mean, can we get a fireplace? You got to have a drawing. You got to go take it to the city. You got to get a permit. Probably could do that in a day. Then you got to have the plumber run the plumbing. The plumbing's got to be inspected. That probably takes 2 days or whatever. Now we got to install the fireplace, and it's got to be inspected the next day. Now we got to build the trim around it, and put up the direct vent. We got to build the mantle. And we got to put the surround 8 inches so that we meet the code. And we got to paint all that. Can all that be done in a week and inspected? Probably not. It's just easier to do this after closing, because the builders, I just think it's easier to do after closing. We're going to see, I'm negotiating, see how well we negotiate today. Most of these things, yes, require a permit. We're getting this all the time. Things require a permit. You must assume everything requires a permit. My client, Robin, who sold you, Cliff, goes to Timber Grove, buys a house, it's got 2 doors and a pole in between it, and she rips out the pole and is going to put 1 door versus 2. It's really not that big a deal, except City Red Tiger. She called Timber Grove Homeowners Association, and they did tell her it doesn't require a permit. People are stupid. Don't believe everything you hear. Just because the HOA said it didn't require a permit, it does require a permit. Because the load, the header across here went and landed here, and this little header over here came and landed here. And when you rip that out of the way, The header's gonna go like that, and it's the door is going to fail later. So now you have to have a header go all the way across, and you're spanning the load now to this from here over to here, which is really not complicated, except she must have an engineered drawing of how that's gonna work up above. So what do you think an engineer is going to charge to come out to her timber grove house and draw and put his little stamp and leave himself liable for 10 years on the structural integrity? The engineer's gonna cost $3,000, okay? The drawing's gonna cost $500. Then you gotta go down and get a permit over there, and then you gotta do the work, and then it's gotta be inspected. I mean, it's
Right.
not just that simple.
Is this internal or external work?
It's a garage door,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
2 garage doors. Yeah, and so I mean, but even internally, it does require a permit. I mean, I didn't think this did. We filled this wall, used to go 8 feet, and we just filled it in. There's no electrical there, there's no plumbing there or anything, but we got red tagged because we filled in those 2 things right there. It was not structural, but they wanted to come out and re-inspect beforehand to make sure that it wasn't structural, but things need a permit.
When buying incomplete new construction,
Mhm.
okay, leaks and water issues on the outside of the property.
Okay,
First, leaks.
leak, what
Let's
kind of leak?
say, okay, like example, leak inside the home.
Leak inside the home.
Let's say within the first year, you found a leak, they fix it, but it keeps coming back. How far or long is the builder responsible to stop, fix it, until when? Reasonable. That's one question.
I mean, he's going to have, let's say he fixed the leak in the 9 months, and the typical answer is 1 year, but if they fixed the leak and they didn't really fix it,
Right, then bye.
and it comes back 6 months later, which is in the 2nd year, yes, he's still liable, the leak was not repaired.
Okay.
It was not repaired, you said it was repaired, so he's still responsible for fixing what damage they did. He can't say, it's in the 2nd year, now I'm no longer responsible. That's not gonna be a true statement. You're still responsible for it over there.
Okay. And then when you're doing a new development, and then you didn't finish like the curve of the street,
Mhm.
which used to be on the city, but then it's now in the homeowners association, and now you have water retention like for 4 years there, like you say now. You need to keep the water away from the property because of foundation issues, but this water has been there for 4 years, and now this is a real issue that I am having in my house. A city pipeline that was supposed to be condemned because there was a previous property there, broke. And now we have water there for 2 weeks now, and there is nowhere for the water to go. So we have all these issues. I think I should go back to the builder to come back. I don't know if it's the city, the builder, who is what.
I mean, are you dialing 311 at the
Yeah.
city? I mean, everyone needs to just keep dialing 311, and we
Yeah.
can go look into it. I doubt the builder is really responsible on the public right of way, but could be. Could be.
And then the curb, what about the curb?
If he didn't pull a permit and say he was gonna change the curb, he's not responsible for the curb. I mean, the curb is in the public right of way. If he pulled a permit and said he was gonna do a curb, then,
Maybe I should see if I can permit to see.
right, see if he said he was
But
gonna do a
it's
curb.
more than 3 years.
4 years.
Yes, more.
So if it's more.
It's harder to find the permit. Frank can go down to the city and
Yeah,
pull
you
it,
could
but
go
his
down.
website's only good for 3 years. It doesn't mean we couldn't find something for 7 years ago.
Okay.
So you're building a new construction ground up, and the builder, you're gonna do a Fox inspection, they're gonna come and check the pre-pour, and then they're gonna check after the, all these things. And should you expect the builder to let you know when they're ready? I mean, or should you, how many?
Yeah, so typically the builder's required to notify you, say, I passed my final inspections, and it's now time for you to schedule your reasonable inspection. Hopefully he's telling you along the way that it's getting ready, but yes, they have the seller has a responsibility to tell you they have passed their final inspections. Now, they don't normally do it that way, they say,
Not fine,
don't
but I'm
inspect.
saying, like, right now I have a house, and I was told yesterday at 5 o'clock that,
We're ready
hey, you
for
can
this.
send out your frame inspection.
If you want, okay, yeah,
Right.
that's great, yeah. So
And
we,
he said, hey, I can be there Thursday.
okay,
And they're like, well, sheetrock's going on Thursday.
no, they must allow you if your guy wants a framing, if they pass their framing inspection, then, and they're always supposed to notify you, then yes, they must wait for their sheetrock. You have the right for a reasonable inspection, and if that's not the next day,
Yeah.
yes, they'll have to wait until your guy inspects the framing. Yes, they can't go sheet rock the next day.
So we should expect them to let us know. I mean,
Yeah, that's a typical one,
everything is fine.
before cover up is a typical inspection for new construction. It's not typical all the time, you're not gonna finish the plumbing rough in and then go send your guy to review the plumbing, well, that wouldn't, you could, but it's not typical.
No,
But before cover up is a typical time for a builder to let you know, we passed our rough in for plumbing, electrical, HVAC, we passed our windstorm and our framing and our nail pattern and our insulation, and that's what you're gonna go and inspect.
Yeah.
Those items there, how well did they do?
Right, and so.
And a typical deal, I'll just tell you, it happens all the time. The framing inspection was framed. We have these beams, they go across and they inspected them. The framing inspector inspected them just fine. Or the same thing, we do it all the time,
Yeah.
the roofing
And then
inspection.
they change it.
And then the plumber comes in and drills holes and he missed the deal. And the hole could be 2 inches, but he has to do it 5 times. And so now the hole's this big. Well, that whole framing beam has now lost its structural integrity. The plumbing inspector didn't inspect that. He just inspected the plumbing. So your inspector's gonna catch that after the framing inspection was inspected, somebody screwed it up and it should be repaired. Same thing, the roof's here and you've got a brace and then the AC guy comes in, knocks the brace out of the way and sets the AC. Well, yes, it passed the city inspection, but after it passed, the HVAC guy screwed it up and you're gonna have deflection in that roof 4 years later. That's why we inspect that now. Yeah. Very good.
So the seller should be giving you a reasonable
Yes.
timeframe to get your
Yes.
inspection. You should have to hound them.
Yes. Yeah, you should not have.
Should. The keyword
They
is
want to
should,
keep
yeah, should.
going because they've scheduled the world and, I mean, they're gonna have to wait. If your guy wants it inspected, you can tell them I'm not gonna do it. Most people don't do it. But I mean, I did the same thing in my own house. I was the builder and I had it inspected by Fox because I don't know enough if Marcos did it right or not. I learned a third party to go re-inspect my own.
Did he do it right?
No, I mean, there are things that they're always gonna catch something. Always gonna catch something. I think it's worth doing. Good question. Good question. All right, any other questions on new construction? I know we're probably lingering in time here.
Mhm.
I want you to have a good feel for kind of how it works. Paragraph 7 is really, it does outline plenty of those things of how it works. No other questions? Okay, what time is it?
11:15.
All right. I'm around.
Wait.
Anybody? Yes, what do we have?
Mm,
We're going to
Wait,
I don't have time to pull it up. I have to leave.
I'm going for lunch.
Just
Thank you.
you can do it, but you'll have to use the computer over there. Okay.
no, I'm just gonna